What's the date today? October.
It's the 18th.
18th.
I can't believe October is more than halfway over already. That's crazy to me.
I can't believe this has been 2020.
Yeah, I can't believe that either. Well, so I like, quote unquote, relaunched the podcast kind of in September of last year. So it's been over a year since the Facebook live feed that did not have the Skylar Henry trademark quality of audio. But
I mean, if you'll remember, the Skylar Henry trademark quality of audio evolved for like months as I tried episode by episode to figure out what I was doing and why everything was terrible sounding.
I do remember that.
Well, little by little.
Only because you said it, not because I noticed it.
We improved everything kind of on the fly, which like hopefully we're still doing as well. I know that I showed up at your house and you didn't even know that I like wanted you to be a co-host.
Yeah. I thought I was just going to be at the computer, like nodding along to what you were saying.
Yeah. And then in those early episodes, it was a lot of us just like yelling. And I think we yell still, but like we do other things too now, right? I think.
I mostly yell.
Yeah.
Especially when we're doing episodes about the cops.
Yeah.
I like it when you yell about that. It's
You're
very cathartic for me.
The resident cop yeller. It was cathartic for me too last episode.
I was like, yes, Skylar, go. Yes.
This is his moment.
This is
why we love him.
It's satisfying, right? It's like, it was so satisfying because it got to capture all of the rage I feel without actually having to muster up that energy. And I really enjoyed that. I was like, maybe I just need somebody to yell about things I care about all the time, and I will be a more relaxed person. I was like, I was just sitting back, like really enjoying this. Like, wow, that's.
Well, at the end of his cop yell, we all sort of sat there in awe for a moment. I think one of us was like, "Yep." And, like, you know, what more can
we
you
have
say?
nothing else to say.
That's a good rant, right?
Yeah.
You've done many rants over this last year. So we've been around almost a year as far as since the Bad Faith Daryl episode dropped in. I think it was November of last year. So episode 100 now, almost a full year. What a weird year it's been.
Yeah, what a wild year to start doing a show like this, right?
Right.
Like I feel like in a different year, this show would have been like a lot harder to like keep interesting or whatever, but like this year has been extremely kind for people who are in the business of doing like news commentary podcasts.
Yeah. I mean, it's the reason we added an extra episode a week is because there's plenty of shit going on.
There was too much shit going on.
Yeah, we just couldn't fit it into one.
And also we couldn't go anywhere anyway.
Too much shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that was the other side of it. Like nobody could go anywhere or do anything. So it was like, well, I mean, I can do this twice a week. I'm not doing anything else.
I do look forward to when we can all be in the same room for the first time ever.
I know.
Same.
It'll be great. It'll be so good.
I think COVID has broken my brain.
It's totally same.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
I think it's broken my brain. Like I don't even like, I'm not even sure, like, do I like people anymore? Do I go outside? Like I have weird feelings about the world right now. Like I'm so confused.
I go outside, but then when I see people, I'm like, how do I do this now? Like,
yeah, I'm confused. I don't get it. Like
I don't want to go near you, but I want to relate to you. I don't remember how to talk to people.
There's things that I like. There's things that I hope don't go back to normal. Like one of the things for me, I love it that at the grocery store now, people have to stand 6 feet away from me. I'm like, I would love, I would love to keep that going post COVID.
Mm-hmm. I like open alcohol containers in the street. And not getting in trouble for that.
I feel like that's not an officially That hasn't been officially mandated.
Is this me being a white guy again?
Yeah, I think this might be
God
being a
damn
white
it.
guy again. Because
That's
I was like, is that a thing? Like, or do we have open containers? Is this New Orleans? Like, what's happening?
No, you can
Been a
just
thing for me
buy.
for
You can just
7
buy
months.
single cocktails, and Kempa has always loved a good walk and drink. So
Yeah, so I open it as soon as I leave.
I mean,
I
don't
do
get me
feel
wrong. I
like-
mean, I'm not exactly a rule follower. I didn't realize that was part of Dr. Cassirier's public health order. It was like,
Probably not.
it's not.
okay, I just wanted to. I was like,
I do
missed
feel
That
like-
part is not.
Like drinking in parks has more or less been sort of at least decriminalized during this time. I think the cops will let you drink in the park.
Because I've
Yeah.
definitely been black and drinking in parks for my entire time here in California, and
I just think you can do it in front. Like I've definitely had cops walk by me when like there are visible like alcoholic beverages next to me at a park and they just keep going. So again, it could be whiteness. It could be that they're like, well, I don't know what else these guys are supposed to do. There's no bars or anywhere else to hang out.
Right. I will say, I think Capitol Park, they have stopped enforcing that 100%. Another thing about Capitol Park is I've never seen it so vibrant as I do during the age of COVID. So that's been kind of cool. Living near it, it's always just been kind of empty. And now it's just packed with people every day. And it's like, oh, good. I mean, people are actually enjoying outdoors.
Well, guys, so this is a special episode. It's episode number 100 for us, which is something that is kind of mind blowing to me, but I'm also extremely proud of. Yeah, there's like it really is like, and at the rate we do them two a week now, so we're at the rate of a little over 100 episodes a year. If we keep up this,
If we stick with it, yeah,
exactly. And hopefully we can for as long as we can.
The first 22 done by friend of the show Anthony Siino, and listener, go back and check those out. It's from a different time. Like
different times.
very. Remember when we could go
Times
do
were
things and we
different.
had like a vibrant art scene and like restaurants weren't closing around us. That's like when Anthony was running the show, and it was, I think it's just like a really, really cool slice of what Sacramento was about, 2.5, 3 years ago. So go check those out. They're very like pristinely edited, and it's almost done like in radio format. It's always a joy to go back and check those out. So Anthony, we've said it before, but thank you for all that you've done paving the way on this. And
yeah, for sure. Like here on our 100th episode, like you're the fifth host here, I think. That
Yes.
so we're toasting to you
yes,
as well.
Claws up.
claws out.
Claws up for 100 episodes, guys.
Oh shit, I have like a Studio Sacramento mug.
Well, me and Flo are representing at
all right,
least.
good.
Sorry, I'm drinking tea.
No, I think like this show has been for me like it's been one of like the coolest experiences I think I've ever had like in my life. Not only has it like given me the opportunity to talk to like this huge host of amazing people that I don't think I would have had the same opportunity to do without the show. But it has like it definitely has. I don't know. Like you guys at this point for me, we're on show number 100 or whatever, and I feel like you guys are family. It really has been. This show has been something that has kept me like steady through COVID, through a pretty difficult time. So anyway, I just wanted to say like this has been like a really amazing experience for me. I love and appreciate all three of you, and like my life is better because we do the show. And yeah, I mean, that's it. I feel very lucky and very privileged to get to do this with you guys twice a week, and it means a lot. And I
don't want to cry.
I'm here
on this.
for another. Let's do another 100. Let's go. We'll reconvene after another 100.
I totally want Shannon to cry. I don't think I'm going to cry. Promising myself I'm not going to
This
cry.
has just been so much fun. And I totally agree with Skylar. Like, it's weird to feel close to people, especially because, like, I've only been in person with we've
Right.
only been together, okay, in person,
All
like
four,
with
yeah.
all four of us, like one time.
Mhm.
And
that was like in a meeting in Shannon's backyard.
Yes,
very,
and I think
very
I've been
well distanced.
Yes, I think I've been in person with Shannon like maybe 5 or 6 times in life, and I've been in person with you, Skylar, I think like 3 times in life. And so it's really weird to feel this like affinity and closeness for people who you like talk to, and you have these like really intimate conversations about your life, but then you're like, I couldn't find a picture of the 4 of us together if I tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a weird feeling.
There is
And I think
one.
it's all
There's
tied
one
up
on
in this year.
Instagram.
Yeah, there is.
Oh yeah, okay.
The
But it's like
backyard.
it's all tied up in this like really weird year where
Yeah.
connections to people all changed. And
Yes.
so yeah, like you guys don't get to go anywhere. This has been fun.
Absolutely.
What a cool
Well-
way to get to connect to the community. Like, I couldn't think of a cooler way, for me to get to do that.
It's nice that Flo is saying that we don't get to go anywhere, because I don't know. I'm sure some of us recall that when Flo joined the show, we basically took her hostage and we're like, you actually don't get to leave. So to hear you say that you're in,
Right.
at
Fully embrace my
100
Stockholm
episodes.
syndrome.
Well,
So
yeah.
now
That's what we were
I
going
identify
for.
with my captors, and I have love and affinity for them.
That's
So
what we were going for, because we were like, we know she can leave anytime she wants, but like,
Right,
we
does
gotta.
does she remember that she didn't sign a contract?
don't remember that anymore. Like it's compulsory now. That's how this works.
Yeah, I mean, all 3 of you, for me, this for me, like I had actually like paused Voices River City a while back. I had like no money, and I needed to like focus on like my career a little bit more. And relaunching the podcast was a little daunting to me and scary. And it was a very public thing again, that I hadn't done many public things since then. And each one of you comes from a part of my life that I value so much. But they're very different little corners of my universe. And it's been so fun to cobble you all together and then watch you all form these sort of friendships and relationships and this familial dynamic. I'm just really thankful, like it, in all of as we've all been saying, madness that this last year has brought. This has been a real bright silver lining for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been like, and this is something I think that we have said after an episode where we're especially yelly, that like the show is like therapy, and it's like it has been sort of like a balm to get through a year that is really, really unpredictable. I like it is also one of the few constants for me personally that I have right now. Like I know that I have to go to work, and that's going to be stressful, and it's super unpredictable. And I know that when I come home, I've got, my spouse and my cats, and on Mondays and Thursdays, I have my Voices family. Like these are, and I know it's going to be a space where not only do I get to share my expertise in terms of like homelessness, but I also get to learn so much. Like I think that I have really been I have been able to maintain a level of like I still find myself a student of the show so often.
Same.
And I really love that about what we do, because we individually bring, I think, so much to every episode. But we also walk away with a ton. And I think what Skylar said is really important, that without this show, like, would we have these conversations with all of these incredible guests, you know, especially the ones that have been happening over these last few months? Like,
my
it's
mind is blown sometimes over the guests that will come on and do this show. Like, it's such an honor. Like, and we like, I mean, every one is it's better than the last. It's so good. Yeah, what a treat.
It's special. I'm super, like, I guess I join the chorus, the Voices chorus of gratitude that this is just like a super rad experience. I'm so grateful that we have people that continue to listen to us and continue to decide to support us. It's super weird to be like in the wild and have people recognize.
Love it.
Like, I had like a moment, I think I told this story on the show, or maybe I don't remember, but where I was at work actually, and I went into the kitchen to get something for lunch, and the person who was serving, I just like kind of scoot down to the salad section, and that person was like, "Oh, I love your podcast." And I like looked behind me like,
talking to me?
Me?
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, "Yeah, you're Shannon from Voices, right?" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like,
I guess I am.
I suppose that I am. Yes, thank you so much. Like,
it's better than if you had like turned around and there was like Ben Shapiro serving soup in the line.
Right.
Yeah.
They're talking.
Right. Yeah.
And then you wake up, right?
Yeah. Wake up from my nightmare.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the expertise part too. It's like, it's funny because like for me it's just like friends and like it's, you know, cool, but I just think everyone brings totally their own perspective, their own expertise. We all work in very interesting corners of the universe, right? And I mean, it's been cool. I'm super thankful as well for the listenership. When I look at the listenership, like who our listeners are, we have listeners all over the world now, but for the most part, you know, it's very California focused. What I also love is that it's a majority women, and it's also young people, right? So it's the ages between like 23 and 35. And I think this is the segment that's this at you know, that is an age group that is sort of frustrated and hungry to kind of rise up and like make real changes. So thank you to everyone who listens and everyone who's a patron too, because that's just really, it's just really amazing stuff, and it allows us to do a good show.
Yeah.
Favorite moments? Who wants to go first?
Oh, easy for me is when we found out that Flo loves David Garibaldi.
I was gonna say,
that's probably my favorite moment of the show.
I wasn't on that show, but I do remember getting the text message that Skylar gave the timestamp and said at 40, like, I don't know, like at 40:06, Flo says Garibaldi is a national treasure. Best ever. And I was like, I immediately went to the episode, forwarded to the timestamp, and was like, okay.
I must have listened to that 100 times when I was editing it. I was just like at my computer, like cry laughing.
David Garibaldi.
Oh my gosh. I was so amused and also bewildered by how much you all were just like, fuck this guy.
I have like little annoyances rising up in me right now, and I'm like, no, we're not going to make
No, we're not. Let's not relitigate that
We're
one.
not going to relitigate. We absolutely are not. The episode lives and everybody stated their positions very clearly. It is all there.
Yeah. If he wants to drive down our street in his Lamborghini, Dave, you let him. You just
leave him alone. You leave him in his Lamborghini alone.
That episode was just so much fun for me because I think I also really appreciated the whole conversation we had about whether or not the artwork at Doko is intentionally subversive or not. That whole episode is just fun for me. Like, if I am in a bad mood, I can go back and listen to that section and feel the same way I felt when we were recording it.
Those are funny too, because like for me, I always have so much fun during those episodes, but then afterwards I'm like, did we teach anyone anything, or did we just kind of yell at each other for a while? But like, people enjoy that shit apparently. So
yeah, I think it's part of our, like, it's that thing that's like, it's like part of our charm, right? We've got episodes where we get a little yelly, and you know, it's passionate litigation.
Yeah,
We
you gotta
taught
have
art, damn it.
like, you gotta have moments of levity in between, like screaming about police brutality and housing justice, right?
that's true.
Right. Yeah.
Flo, was that yours as well then, that episode?
Yes, that was my favorite. I like that whole segment, and it just was.
That was the one Sedalia was on, right?
Yes, and it came out of nowhere. And that episode was just so interesting because it was like we closed and then we did the fake close and we opened back up and got
restarted the episode.
Yeah, it was just.
She's like, one more thing, and then it's a whole nother episode.
It's a whole thing. And we're like,
the whole last half hour of that episode is me being like, all right, guys, well, that's about it. And then Flo's like, nope, now we're going to talk about this. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
How about for you, Shannon? What was yours?
I mean, I think I have a few. I'm just gonna do it. I have two that come to mind, and one is mostly because of the imagery, which is Skylar in the Voices River City helicopter.
The Gazer-Ax episode.
Yeah, the Gazer-Ax. I just love to think about it. Skylar with like a headset, wearing, just like flying around downtown. There's something about that that's like just so
in the Voices
special.
Copter.
In the Voices Copter, yeah.
I love it because that was another episode where I was like, did we
do a bad?
Is this a bad
talk
episode?
about anything that episode?
Yeah. And I think my other favorite is the episode we did with Logan from the Sunrise Movement.
Yes.
Where at one point in the episode, one of us was like, tight, like we should join the Sunrise Movement.
And they were like, no.
And they were like, no, you're too old.
Very sorry.
Like,
we have a strict cutoff of age.
And I was like, oh fuck. Like
You're
we
years past this.
we
like,
are too old.
Yeah.
Like, so I love that we have an episode where we just got like served by the Sunrise Movement.
We've been served by the Sunrise Movement for being old multiple times.
Yeah.
Every time anyone from the Sunrise Movement comes on the show, they call us old.
I don't know why we keep inviting you all.
Yeah,
along.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
And they refer to us as your generation. Like, and I'm like, hold on a second. Only those of you under 23 get to say that. The rest of you are our generation. So pipe down, kiddos, okay? Pipe down.
that's been a very humbling thing on this show. Having young activists on that are like out there doing real shit, who usually put in a little jibe here or there about how like we are, like they acknowledge that we are definitely older than them. And we have to be like, okay, well, you know, fine. I think all four of us look very young, and I just assume everyone thinks I'm young, and that's not true, apparently.
I definitely know. I'm age appropriate.
You
I
look
don't think
young.
I look older than my age, but I definitely don't look younger than my age. Like,
I mean,
that's what I'm hoping to be for the rest of my life. Like, I am the exception to the black don't crack. I'm just gonna age appropriately throughout my life. Like, you're gonna be like, yep, there is a 60-year-old woman. There is a 70-year-old woman. That woman is 80. Yes, correct. Like, you're not gonna be like, damn, she should have died 30 years ago. But you're also not gonna be like, should I holler? Because she seems young. Like,
should I holler though?
right? Like, no, that's not my life. It's just gonna be like, yeah, that's You feel right. Good. Those are your peers. Go on.
I'm cool being mistaken for my 20s because it's like during my 20s.
Of course you are.
I was
That's how being young works.
Yeah.
Like no one's ever upset that people think they're young. You just pretend you are. You're like, why does everybody think I'm so much younger than I am?
Yeah.
But it's great.
But like, no, people think I'm young. It's not until like I throw my back out that I'm like, oh no, I'm in my mid 30s.
Oh yeah, it's not until you're like getting up out of a chair after sitting for 2 hours and a sharp pain shoots down your leg that you're like, oh.
Or like if you sit down in a chair and make the noise, it's like,
Yeah, I don't relate to any of this. I'm clearly in the sunrise movement when it comes to movement because none of this sounds familiar.
If anyone
to
from
me.
the sunrise movement is listening, if you can just contact Dr. Flo.
Yeah, sorry,
Like,
Flo, you're too young to join the sunset movement.
I'm too young to join the sunset movement. That's girl.
You're too young to be on this show
I tease
now.
Tareen about this all the time because he always has a shoulder, a calf, ice after a run, all these things. And I'm just like, you're only 9 months older than me. How are we having such different experiences?
Maybe he's just very present in his body and he knows
Maybe
what,
so.
That's it.
Maybe
Yeah,
so.
That's it.
where for me it's like 2 days after I like run into a wall, I'm like, oh, there's a knot on my forehead.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I
2
look
days
like
later.
I feel like I look like if you were to take Christopher Walken's current haircut and put it on a 14-year-old. I think I think that's my
pretty
look,
accurate,
right?
It looks super young.
But
But
now
got some really,
this is
really
Flo
good silver
Googling
hair.
Christopher Walken's current haircut because I'm not sure what it is.
You're
That's
looking at it.
good. All right.
Yeah. I'm like if you put Jonathan Taylor Thomas's 1994 haircut on a 24-year-old. No, 27.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with both of these.
Okay.
And yeah,
That
I
works
like
for me.
this.
Yeah.
So my favorite moment,
Right.
it's like, okay. So I came off looking really dumb in it, but
Oh.
I still laugh about it. It was during the intro when I didn't
Yeah.
understand the story about the mayor of Auburn.
I love that. I love that. Oh,
And I remember watching it on YouTube and just like my face, I'm not really saying anything, but my face is
Yes,
not
it
fitting
was.
with what you all were actually saying. Once I was watching it a second time around, and I was like, oh my God, you fucking moron. And like, I forget what I thought had happened. but I
Well, so
think-
what had actually happened was he got in trouble for making a Facebook post comparing Trump supporters to Klansmen, and being like, "Oh, I don't know why they're so mad. They already have masks or whatever, right?" And
Yeah,
then
and
I
then-
think you thought that he
that he was a Klansman?
like
Something?
came out dressed as a Klansman.
that
or
is what you
something.
thought. That is exactly what you thought.
Yeah.
That is what I thought. Oh my God. Oh, that
Yeah.
was
And we
bad.
had to like do a hard like stop and explain.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
and it was
oh,
like
that was fun.
this is an incredible intro to the show.
I know. Well, I love that intro too, because like I went on hard on Auburn. I'm like, I don't know, that's a very racist place. So like, you know, blah blah blah. And then after that, after the intro, we were like, oh, how was your weekend? What did you do? And Flo was like, oh yeah,
I went hiking
went
in
to
Auburn.
Auburn.
We were like, where? And she goes, Auburn.
Also, after that show, like a week later, maybe less than a week later, that mayor died in a plane crash.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was true.
Yeah.
Wow. I besmirched a dead mayor.
Well, he wasn't dead when
He
you
wasn't
did it.
dead when
He
we
wasn't
were
dead, yeah, when we
Mhm.
covered the story. But yeah, it was an odd thing too.
right.
Like an unusual.
I saw it pop up in my
circumstances.
news thing and was like, "Oh shit, we were just talking about that guy." Yikes!
Yeah.
Well, wow, we talked a real gang of shit on this dude who's now dead in a tragic
he's-
accident.
Yeah. That's,
Ooh.
One thing you learn in journalism is you can't libel the dead. So he's fair game now.
Yeah. Excellent.
I also have really enjoyed listening to the episodes that I'm not on. And I think my most favorite was one where you all were like going in about your sunburn and all of these things that you were just like, we're just going to go off the rails because Flo's not here. And I was like yelling, like, I'm not the mom of the show while I'm listening. And there was also a point in that show where you were like, Flo is probably, and I was like doing the thing that you said I was probably doing at the moment. And I was just
said
like,
you were turning it off. You've already turned it off. And
yeah,
you were reaching to turn it off.
Yes. And I was like, I'm going to pause this and come back. And then when you said it, I was like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction.
There was also in that episode, like, because that's the episode that we were talking about Skylar performing my gallbladder surgery on me.
Correct.
And then me getting sunburn. And Kempa had said something about like how you were probably like really upset or something. And you were text us to say like super excited listening to the show. And then you were like, just got to the part about the sunburn. Like also Skylar put the sword down. Like
yeah.
But it's really fun to like listen to the episodes that I'm not on. I really do enjoy that.
I do too.
And
I wouldn't know what that's like. Well, I guess I listened to Anthony's show, so
yeah,
I kind of know what it's like.
You will, you can trust us to edit. We'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I'm still gonna send my. So Skylar, you better be on because I'm sending my audio to you regardless. That's how WeTransfer is set up. So you're gonna have to send it to Dave after I send it to you because that's just how it's gonna go down.
Oh,
that's fair. That's
I can't wait. Well, I've always said that you should be able to have an episode or two off here and there. Like it's nice. It's nice to take a break. Also, it's so fun to listen to everybody else on those episodes.
Yeah,
it is fun.
One day
when you're gone. Speaking from someone who's been gone a lot recently, it's fun to listen to the episodes you're not on.
Weirdly,
yeah, it's great.
I mean, like, obviously, we're sort of just like discussing the show and our journey and kind of where we are, where we want to go. But like, we probably want to get started pretty soon. Do we want to discuss kind of where we see this going in the future, or should we just start up with the show?
I think we just start up with the show.
Let's do it then.
All right.
Voices, the things they said. Voices, some from those dead. All the voices heard. Voices, things we say. Voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Why, hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 100 of Voices River City, the podcast. You have Dave Kempa.
And Skylar Henry.
Wow, full names. I'm Shannon.
I'm Flo-Jean Kofer.
Oh,
I love it. We're going full NPR
Dr.
today.
Flo-Jean Kofer.
Can I finally do my Ira Glass impression that I've been
I have too many
angling
names.
for
I have a lot of-
months?
Yeah, give it a shot. Let's hear it.
All right.
You don't have too many names.
I'm Ira Glass. From WBEZ in Chicago. This is This American Life.
It's not bad, honestly.
Yeah. I like how his voice cracks too when he's like, why do people hold pages in their books when they're reading? That's I'll get better. I'm new at
That's
the
pretty
IRA.
good though. You got a good start. Yeah.
You have a really solid start.
Yeah.
You've been working on it.
The only thing that's a lot, he sounds a little more Southern than he does. But other than that, you got the intonation and everything just spot on.
You've gotten me listening to him, that you personally, Flo, in the last few months. So I'm trying hard.
Shit.
And you have recommended podcasts to me as well, one of which I've already completed.
We are back in the universe of podcasts. Anyway, I guess this is a podcast where we talk about news.
It is.
You might not know it from this episode.
Yeah, we're being a little self-indulgent this episode, but I feel like if you do 100 episodes, you get one self-indulgent.
Just
Absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
But today I knew this would be kind of the tenor of the episode, so I thought we'd talk about one or two kind of funny things. Did you hear about the exorcism going down out in the Bay Area?
I did when I read the article in the LA Times.
Yes. So the Archbishop of San Francisco performed a short exorcism Saturday outside a Catholic church where protesters had earlier toppled a statue of Father Junipero Serra. I can never tell if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Serra being, can somebody say what he did that was so shitty that we've been tearing him down left and right across the state?
Yeah. I mean, he basically brought, Catholicism to the US, but in so doing also like subjugated a bunch of native people and basically, considered their pre-existing culture and beliefs and in many instances just personhood to be problematic and antithetical to the church. And so he was, oppressive in the way that colonizers often are.
Yeah, classically. And this is something that I think colonizers of most stripes did when they came out here, was say, either you will join our religion or we are not responsible for the horrible things that we will do to you if you don't.
Or both.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of who he was. Anyway, so in this town, what is it, San Rafael?
Mm-hmm.
They removed some very lovely young folks, took it upon themselves to remove a statue of this Serra man.
He's also, he's real quick. He's controversial because the Pope canonized him in 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
he's recently been recognized officially by the Catholic Church as a saint. And now just 5 years later, we tore his, I guess that sounds like I'm taking some kind of credit. A bunch of really awesome people went to Capitol Park and took the statue down here in Sacramento as well. Same guy.
Skylar and I have alibis. We were camping. We definitely
yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
My official position is no comment.
We,
Same.
I heard about what happened at the Capitol Park, and I think about it, and I'm loving to think about it.
I also love to think about it.
But I
Yeah.
also know nothing about it, officer.
Yeah, and I officially have no comment.
Okay. That being said, yeah, so he's been ripped down throughout the state. Anyway, this archbishop, well, it's so like this. He was turned into, what was he, what do you say?
Canonized.
Canonized. This is coming from me, the guy who once said that when Dan and Chris Delaney left the Catholic Church, that they dropped the cloth. I was like, that's the technical term.
That's it.
They dropped the cloth.
They dropped it. They actually did.
So this guy was canonized by I'm enjoying this episode so much.
Oh,
I'm gonna get fired.
This guy was canonized
On your day off.
by our woke Pope. Right?
Yeah.
Woke Pope canonized him, the one that goes and washes poor people's feet, and who's considered one of the most progressive kind of Catholics. He's
the guy before him was the Nazi one, right?
Yeah, with
Pope
scary
Nazi the Fourth. Yes,
right.
That's
Palpatine
correct.
face. Yeah,
But this guy is the cool one.
I call him woke Pope. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As popes go, I guess.
As popes
The cool-
go,
the cool-
in
coolest
comparison to a Nazi pope.
yeah, he's
Yes.
the first ever. What's that little sect of Catholicism?
Jesuit.
Yeah, he's a Jesuit, and they have
Love those guys.
emphasis on service to other people and on rigorous study in academia. They usually come out pretty okay, but except for the ones that end up still religious after the studies, and they're always quoting Aquinas and shit. Woke Pope canonized this man, who shouldn't have been canonized.
Right.
And so anyway, this archbishop goes down and performs an exorcism, and that made me very happy to hear.
Yeah, I like too. There's a couple of things in this LA Times article you sent us. I like that this little paragraph here is Archbishop Salvatore, I don't even know, Cordileone, perform the ritual.
Now, if that's not a Cosa Nostra last name, I don't know what is.
I'm sure I just butchered that. My my instincts for Italian are poor.
No, I'm just saying he's in the mob.
Well, for sure, he's mobbed up. It says he performed the ritual before some 150 supporters before saying a special mass inside St. Raphael Catholic Church and marching to a Planned Parenthood clinic. The San Francisco Chronicle reported. What a fucking day. You do a little exorcism. You have a little mass. You march over to a Planned Parenthood clinic to be extremely obnoxious to people who are going through one of the hardest days of their lives.
Or not. I mean, let's just also be really clear, because like when I lived in Michigan, I went to Planned Parenthood for all of my preventive services as well.
Totally.
Not that I have any problem with people going there for other things, but it was always super awkward when I'd be walking in and there were protesters outside like, don't do it. And I'm like, get my pap smear,
don't
pick up my birth certificate. What am I not doing here?
Right.
Because you're making assumptions that everybody walking through these doors was having one particular procedure, and I totally support people being able to have that procedure, but you're also grossly overlooking the fact that there's a lot of other stuff that happens here.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I should amend that to say people who are potentially having a very, very difficult day.
Right.
And other people who are just trying to get pap smears or STI checks or whatever. Yeah.
Like general care.
Just like, basic preventative.
Just women
medicine.
being women. You're just out here menacing women being women.
Thank you, Archbishop, for your service. When I was thinking about this exorcism, I only have one reference of exorcisms, and that being the movie, The Exorcist.
Right.
So I was I was like, what is he?
I think it's usually more mellow than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
that's how they describe it.
What is he? Well, I saw him describe it like that, but like, who knows what his metric for mellow is, right? So I'm watching him, or I'm reading this, and I'm thinking that he's like, screaming the power of Christ compels you, and I'm like, I'm trying to think of like, what is he
like? The statue's like spinning its head around and
Right,
like
is it
spitting
a-
out like
Is
green
that-
shit
is that the
everywhere.
Sarah statue?
That's why they said, despite characterizations in popular culture, because I don't think there were any spinning heads or anything like that.
Okay. Because I rewatched some of those scenes today, and I was like, did the Junipero Serra statue, was it like spewing green vomit and being like
Stabbing itself in the genitals with a crucifix.
right? And was it like
only hope?
Was it like, your mother sucks cocks in hell, Corleone?
Probably it was a lot like that. That's I have to imagine that it was pretty much exactly like that.
And my thing was like, okay,
Flo, go ahead.
Maybe you go.
No, I was gonna say
I'm
think,
saying nothing of consequence.
I think what the ceremony is, and this is as a person who is not Catholic but who is raised in a Presbyterian church, I believe that the ceremony is probably one where it's basically like a blessing. So the goal is to be able to like bless a space where something has happened, and you want to return it to its former glory. I think the challenge, of course, for me is that what does that mean when we're talking about a person who wreaked a lot of havoc on and oppression on people to, as the article says, like return this person to their former glory? That's the part that's confusing for me. I don't know what that means. I don't understand why it would happen. And it's also concerning to me that they are planning to, just put the statue back as if like there aren't some legitimate concerns that have been raised.
He's been exercised, so he can go back.
And I'm also confused, like it's the second to the last line that was really confusing to me. So Corleone said prayers in Latin, remarking that, quote, the experts in the field tell me that Latin tends to be more effective against the devil because he doesn't like the language of the church, end quote.
Right.
And I'm
can I ask the first question about this?
Yes, please.
When he says the experts in the field, who the fuck could he possibly be talking about?
Theologians.
Like guys who listen to Pink Floyd backwards.
Theologians. I'm assuming he's talking about theologians.
He called up woke Pope and was like
Bible scholars.
Definitely called woke Pope.
Like who is he consulting? He's like, I want to do something that's really effective against the devil. So like what language are we talking? Spanish? No.
What's also interesting to me that like Catholicism, I mean, because technically it's a sect of Christianity. And so Catholics use Latin generally, but like the Bible is not written in Latin, right? So like there's this idea of like so the devil is particularly miffed by Catholicism, but not the language that the Bible was written, the languages that the Bible were written. I'm a little confused about that whole statement.
It feels like it doesn't hold
away.
up to a ton of scrutiny.
I thought the original was Aramaic.
Aramaic is Aramaic. There's also Hebrew. There's
Now,
right, and so it's written in multiple languages.
I feel like those would be the languages that would really piss off the devil.
Peeve off.
Yeah, he'd really get peeved at that.
Where the devil would be like, you know what? I can't be in this space that I really started to enjoy. Once
he
they
was
got rid
like,
of
you
the
know,
statue."
I did help these guys tear down the statue of this colonial oppressor, but I guess I'll bail out now because you guys are getting into the Aramaic and I can't handle it.
Mhm. But it's fine. I'm in California and I thrive out here. So
Hell yeah, dude. You know the devil lives in Silicon Valley, man, for sure.
Just say that though. I also I noticed that, so they say that they're gonna they're repairing the statue and returning it because when it was knocked over, they left the feet attached to the base.
Right.
that I enjoyed reading.
See, that seems like a good compromise.
That
I think
it felt
they
very
should've
close
just
to
left
David's
it.
ankles.
Just
It
leave,
did.
just leave his
This was a
feet.
very beautiful The Daily podcast episode, one of their Sunday reads called David's Ankles. I recommend it to everybody. Sorry, keep going, Shannon.
Oh, I just think it's a good, like, you know, they did their folks who rightly wanted to tear down the statue, tried real hard. The feet just wouldn't budge. Leave the feet. You know?
They broke his ankles.
Broke his ankles.
I'm thinking about it, and I'm loving to think about it.
Same.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
We've got some other, like the Bay Area. This is not the only instance of anti-colonial behavior happening in the Bay Area, right? So
Anti-colonial behavior.
there's also
Antics.
a large number of schools and learning institutions in the Bay who are being targeted for name changes, right?
Yeah, so over a
44, I
third
think.
of their public schools, 44 of their 120 something public schools have been sort of tagged for potential renaming, which that's fun to see. You know, obviously they have, as we all have had, a recent history of tearing down statues of colonizers. We've had the reckoning that on the national level that we've all talked about. And so a lot of these, you know, make a lot of sense. Who wants to talk through some of this?
Well, the one that's most enjoyable to me is the Dianne Feinstein Elementary, because
I love
Diane is still
Feinstein.
here.
Yeah.
And so that is just funny to me. And they want to tear it down, not because of actually like recent stuff, but because of something that happened back in 1984 that I wasn't aware of until this came out. But apparently protesters took down the Confederate flag when she was mayor of San Francisco. And then she put the flag back up the next day, and it wasn't until one of the Black supervisors said, you know, this opens the wound of slavery, that she said, well, I wouldn't want to open any wounds, as if she, you know, as a Stanford graduate, didn't know what
Didn't
the
get what she was
Confederacy
doing.
is and
Right,
doesn't
right.
understand the Civil War.
They were like, this is the banner of slavery. This
Right.
is-
So the whole thing is really confusing to me. I did not know this about her. And so but I just think I like, it's not petty, but it really, really spoke to my petty soul, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I was like,
if they're already doing 40 odd things,
Right.
let's
What's one
one
more?
more. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, it's not like the fucking Confederate flag instance is the only whack thing that like Dianne Feinstein has done over the course of her career.
It's definitely my favorite one on the list.
Yes.
Easily my favorite one on the list. And I hope
But there's also the one for James Lick Middle School, which I thought was interesting because they want to take his name off, even though because his estate commissioned
he died.
He died, 10 years after he died, his estate commissioned or financed the racist early days statue that was removed in 2018. And so I'm like, okay, but is that the only reason? Because he was dead. And so I get that his estate was being problematic, but like, are we also holding people accountable for the things that happened 10 years after they die?
I mean, the other side of that, though, right, is that like if you are in charge of somebody's estate, like a person who was like a person of note who has like this long kind of like somebody with an actual legacy, you have to be more careful than to fucking throw money at racist shit, right?
Okay, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, and this has not happened, but I'm just thinking, several generations from now, Martin Luther King's great-great-grandkids decide that they're going to sell out his image to something, right? Like, the Labor Day, Ford F-150 sale, right? And they're going to license his image and other things. I'm just saying, like, capitalism sucks. You all know it's possible to happen. Are we holding Dr. King, who's been dead since 1968, accountable for whatever his great-great-grandkids decide to do with his image? I mean, Don't get me wrong. They should be responsible with it. But if they're not, and this person has been dead, do we then start renaming Martin Luther King boulevards and Martin Luther King elementary schools because of what his estate does on his behalf after he's no longer here to control it? That just seems like a bridge too far.
I tend to agree. One thing I liked about Martin Luther King is that he was anti-capitalist. And one thing I'll say about this Lick guy is, as a philanthropist, he's probably very much a capitalist. So like,
probably.
See you later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't know his legacy. So let me first and foremost say I'm not here to be an advocate on behalf of Lick. That was just the only reason they named in this article for why he was being. And I was like, that feels like not the reason. Now, if you tell me he did a bunch of other problematic stuff, I'm on board. But if that's the reason you're taking it down, that doesn't feel particularly compelling.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get you guys' takes on another aspect of this, because the mayor of San Francisco is on record as like not being into the renaming of any of this stuff at all. And the reason that she gives, and Senator Weiner is also in this article in lockstep, is that like, we need to focus on getting kids back in school. This is the wrong time to be like focusing the energy of like any part of our school system on the names of the institutions. The kids need to get back into school. We need to be focusing on that, not the renaming thing. The other thing that they bring up is that the schools, like every other system in San Francisco and California right now, are suffering financially, and it will take a significant amount of money to rename all of these schools. And is this the right time to be approaching it? I kind of have my thoughts on it, but I think that's at least an argument worth considering. And I wanted to get your guys' takes on how you feel about that.
London Breed is famously a mod dem. I think that a school board can walk and chew gum at the same time.
I agree with that.
I think also a big onus of schools not reopening and the focus on capital, on businesses, on bars reopening, that lies at London Breed's feet, right? I mean, and on the county board of soups, and like that's so getting mad at the schools for this, it feels a little disingenuous. By the way, this was just like a sort of a side group of people that came together and said, all right, let's discuss these school names. Are there any that we should reconsider naming? It doesn't take that much time or money to have this discussion and to release your statement on this. So like her making it this political, that's again disingenuous to me. Senator Weiner coming out behind her, I think that's very telling too. He's running against an Indigenous woman, and a lot of the people on this list have said and done some very horrible things to Indigenous people in California. So that's kind of my take.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction to this is also like, it doesn't make sense to me to be like, well, we need to concentrate about getting kids back to school and not worry about name changes. It's like, well, there's a lot of people working on this. It seems like we could maybe do both at the same time. It does. I guess the part that I am like, I have like a modicum of sympathy for is the part where you have to like actually do all the physical renaming. And like, I mean, those like
cost.
Yeah, there is a cost to that. There's it's like a lot of those names are like engraved and shit and whatnot. It's not super easy. And that's the only part of this that I'm like,
But I'm okay with you doing the more expensive stuff over time, right? So, I mean, I'm fine with you changing James Lick Elementary School or whatever it is to something else, and maybe putting up a temporary sign up front that's not that expensive.
100%.
Maybe changing your stationery and getting a new logo. And then over time, you can figure out what to do with the engraved James Lick, or James Lick Elementary School thing out front. Like that to me doesn't seem like a reason why you wouldn't move forward with this. And then you also get, for that period of time where you have both up, you get to appease also the historical purists who are like, we need to teach the history. Well, I'm sure some bright kid is going to walk up to school and say, hey, mommy, why is Dianne Feinstein, elementary school now named, Rosa Parks Elementary School? You could say, well, let me tell you the story, kiddo. So like, to me, it seems like a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly had not considered that angle, and that does make I think that pretty much sinks that part of that argument.
And go, Shannon.
Mayor Breed knows of that possible alternative. Like, anyone who is in a position of leadership understands that sometimes you have to make changes that you can't see to their absolute end right away. And so you come up with temporary solutions. Like, Mayor Breed is aware of that possibility, but to like suddenly make this like a politicized thing is just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, really, on top of everything else, just release a statement that says you support decolonizing schools in San Francisco and be done with, like, do the right fucking thing,
Yeah.
Why
and then just say, we'll look at a timeline that's appropriate given the other responsibilities we have right now to make more permanent structural changes. Like,
and in that,
like, we spitballed that off the top of our heads, London. Why is this so hard for you?
And in that statement, you can also say, like, I support this work. Right now, our focus is to get children back into schools. Like, you can the statement that was released, pieces of that can be put into a statement that supports renaming schools. Like,
make it a history class project. How dope would it be for your 4th and 5th graders in, James Lick Elementary to be able to come up with a name, and you walk them through, like, let's study historical figures, let's vote, right? They get to learn about the democratic process. Like, to me, it seems like a great way to engage the community and a great thing to be able to champion. And then you just figure out the logistics when you can. Like,
have high schoolers in shop classes create the new signage, there's also two thoughts I had on this, just to add to every great point you all are putting in. One, I get the money thing, right? Also, does the reckoning happen that we're having right now without the cultural context of a Trump COVID America? Like, this has to happen, I think, concurrently in some ways. We can't stop this very important cultural moment because we're worried about, some frivolous thing. And I call it frivolous for the second point, which is You're telling me the tax base of perhaps the richest city per capita in America, easily, possibly in the world, can't afford the signage changes and like the letterhead changes here? That doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, or that you don't have parents who are graphic designers who could just design new logos for the schools
It's
and
not
get
that
a
hard.
fucking tax write-off.
Yeah.
Like, it's just creative leadership.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Dianne, I really hope she loses her school. I saw Mayor Willie Brown write about this a little bit, and he was like, well, whatever, they'll probably take my name down eventually from my school. And
Oh, come on.
I know. But he ended it basically with, I think it was a jibe at New York, but it's probably a good idea. He's like, why don't we just number all of our public schools? It's like, yeah, why not? Go for it.
I mean,
yeah, that's great.
it's a little demoralizing to go to PS 117, but I mean, okay.
Sure, I guess that's true too. Yeah. Go, Skylar.
No, I reconsidered it. I was gonna say that when Flo was talking about what's the guy's name? Lick? Is
James
it James Lick?
James Lick, yeah.
I was thinking that like
Jamie
a figure
Lick.
that I feel like we can all agree on that is like a cool person and not problematic is John Wick. But then I was
Yeah.
like,
Here for it.
maybe naming public schools after people who like murder people by the dozens over the course of a couple hours is maybe not. Maybe I should rethink. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. As much as I'm a fan of John Wick, I think it's not a great way to name your schools.
This is a cultural reference that I embarrassingly don't recognize.
David Kempa.
Send me a link. I'll look it up. I'll watch it. I'm watching Westworld.
yeah.
I'm catching up on that.
John Wick
You've
is
got
one
some
of
stuff
the
to watch.
greatest action franchises running
Yeah.
right now. It's Keanu Reeves what he's doing right now, and it's incredible.
Oh,
It's very good, but it also is extremely violent, and there's a ton of gunplay.
that sounds fine. I mean,
Not for a school though, you know.
Okay, fine. I guess just one final thing I wanted to say on this. Dianne Feinstein is also getting called out by pro-choice advocates. Pro-choice advocate groups that are very important, ones that have been around for a while, and who have actually, endorsed her over progressives in the past in our state Senate elections. So maybe DiFi's on the way out. I don't know. The group's called NARAL, NARAL. I don't know how you pronounce that. But it's a
NARAL pro-choice.
Yeah, NARAL pro-choice. Very important group that finally has had enough with her, because at the end of the hearing for Amy Coney Barrett, who is staunchly against abortion and who could be pivotal in overturning Roe v. Wade, DiFi said this to Lindsey Graham, the head of the Judiciary Committee.
Famous for being a wonderful elected.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Lindsey Graham. She said, "Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you. This has been one of the best set of hearings that I've participated in, and I want to thank you for your fairness and the opportunity of going back and forth. It leaves one with a lot of hopes, a lot of questions, and even some ideas. Perhaps some good bipartisan legislation we can put together to make this great country even better. Thanks, DiFi."
Yeah, dude, she's 100%. She's in the top 10 on the guillotine list for sure.
She's like narrating an opener to the Twilight Zone in that little speech.
I mean, this is what I mean when I say Democrats are weak. Like, they want to be losers. They know where they stand and they don't fight.
Well, it's not that. She's more in line ideologically with somebody like Lindsey Graham than she is with like the progressive wing of her own party. I think that's more to the point.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, she's a conservative.
She's also been elected for years. And
It's
so
time.
I think that there is I think there's also just like what I find is, and it's something that, I've been having like conversations with people on, is that they get to the place where they're now unwilling sometimes to say the things that they believe because they have personal relationships, because Lindsey Graham has been around for a while as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I sometimes wonder where that line is. And one of the reasons why I kind of like the idea of term limits has less to do with people being in for too long and more to do with people not becoming friends, and then the rest of us have to suffer because you don't want to call your friend out on being problematic, right? And this to me seems like a prime case of that, where like, given what her supposed politics are and given his supposed politics and given what is actually trying to happen here, that speech should have never been made. But I think that was more about relationships than it was about actual like where you should be ideologically. And that's challenging to me. And that's a problem that I think could be fixed if you all could approach this like a job instead of like a career.
It's a similar challenge to why I think journalists should switch beats somewhat regularly, because you start building relationships and it affects the work you're doing. And it's,
I think that, speaking of problems getting fixed, though, Lindsey Graham has been in close contact with a lot of the top brass of the GOP who all have coronavirus. He himself has refused to get tested, and Dianne Feinstein is hugging this guy without a mask. So,
fingers, wherever you want to do with your fingers.
So like I almost feel bad about this, but like also like, so I, just to get ready to like talk about her, went and rewatched that video of her like telling a classroom full of children who are interested in the Green New Deal to go fuck themselves. And it's just like, dude, it's one of my favorite videos. Like it's such
so good.
It's so good. Yeah. Watching these kids be like, but like in 10 years, it might be too late. She's like, you want to fucking do my job, kid? Why don't you come over here and suck my dick? It's like, Jesus Christ, lady.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Oh.
I think it's really, it's both like amusing in the SNL context, but also pretty scary to watch people who won't be here. And I don't mean this in like a morbid or a callous way, but like people who won't be here tell people who will have to live through the consequences that this is no big deal. Like,
right.
Yeah.
They're like, I've been doing this forever. Don't worry about it. Like the Green New Deal is not that big of a deal.
And it's like, yeah, but you probably won't be alive in 2040.
Yeah, you're in your 80s. Like you got maybe 10 years left.
Yeah.
Tell me that you were in the position to make the changes for the last 3 decades and you didn't do it.
And you didn't,
nothing.
Right. You just pretended nothing was happening.
Oh, yeah. This is Scott Syphax, who founded NELP. He's talked to me a little bit about this recently. It's like, I think there's folks our age and younger that are just like so fucking done with these olds that like we're just like, all right, now we're gonna run for office and we're gonna kick you the fuck out because like you're endangering our like personally our future and like the possibility that we can actually like consider a future of like children or something like that, right? And I have to agree with that.
Oh, she's the poster child for like why vote blue no matter who is problematic because she's blue.
By the way, Scott said that a lot more, I would say diplomatically than I just did. But
Yeah, I also sometimes suffer from a lack of diplomatic language on this show.
I like you just pull out all the fluff.
But I think that's also a generational thing, right? Like, and I'm not saying that everybody in the previous generation was very like, diplomatic and everybody in our generation lacks diplomacy. But I think if you were to, without restarting a debate about, the simplification of generations, but I do think the act of like, I just want to engage in diplomacy and be where you are. It's like, no, I think that there is a different mindset that people are having about their decisions to get involved in, you know, policy and politics, which is like, I want to see something different happen. And so I'm showing up in these ways that are somewhat unfamiliar to people because I want to see something different happen versus I just want to get in and do the thing I'm supposed to do so that I can be here.
Totally.
And I'm hoping that stays.
Much fewer people in their 20s. There are still some. There's one that bothers me on Twitter regularly that just like are, you know, fresh out of college, button up their ties, and they're like, I want to join the Democratic tribe, you know, like I want to be a part of, you know, this thing that I think has been working well for the last 30 years. Like, no, it's people that are really, really fed up.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, speaking of being really, really fed up, I'm on Twitter all the time, reading the wackest takes. I mean, the takes that I'm reading range from milquetoast at the very top to unforgivably whack at the very bottom. And rarely is there ever really anything above that for me to latch onto. I feel like maybe I've used up all of my currency, and I'm starting to feel like a man at the end of his life, feeling like he's already read all the takes that he's going to read. All the good takes are behind me. All that lies in front of me are whack takes until I'm dead. And that's a depressing state to exist in. And so I wanted to bring this to you and ask you, like, what I need basically is like a fountain of youth, full of good. But if it's not imposing, I would like to request perfect takes. And if you know if such a place exists, and if you do, if you would be so kind as to tell me about where I can find it.
Yeah. You know, I got to say that I think all of us on the show agree that it's very hard to find not just a good take, but immeasurably difficult to find a perfect take these days. And we're all a little fed up. But I know of a place where you can find yourself to be fed down. And that place is called voicesrivercity.com. This is really the El Dorado of perfect takes.
Yes.
This is, you know, you've been searching for that fountain of youth, and it's right there in front of your eyes on your computer screen. You know, we've been doing news and arts coverage for 3 years now. Truth to Power essays. We've been doing the Staff Follows the Money project, has been very popular and very fun, and hopefully it's made some difference in this town, in this county. Currently, of course, our iteration today is the podcast, which is episode 100. And we're all very proud of that. It would be very weird if you jumped in really late to this episode and didn't know already that it's episode 100. But yeah, you know, we're on voicesrivercity.com. We're on social media, Facebook. We are Voices River City. On Twitter, we are at Voices River City. Instagram at Voices River City. Very funny. Check that one out. We are on YouTube. You can actually watch our little faces on these episodes, Voices River City. We're on Patreon if you want to help support us. We've got a lot of supporters, and like it's really exciting to see. And on top of that, we've got a few special episodes out there. I know you can't get enough of us. So we just 2 days ago, 2 days before publishing this episode, published Flo's special episode on she leads a discussion with us on the book, the classic Lies My Teacher Told Me. And we talk through that and how Americans just haven't learned a good history in our country. And then what that means for us today, and sort of the dangers it poses to us. And, you know, to what degree are we actually in danger of having another civil war? I thought it was a fantastic episode. I've already listened to it multiple times. So please do become a patron and check out that episode. There's 3 others too that Skylar, Shannon, and I have all led. And I guess we got to start the circuit again. I think the next one will be on Is that our Ladybird episode?
Yeah, we have to do Ladybird.
Yeah.
We're behind on a couple of things. For one, we have to do Ladybird, and for two, we said we would write limericks, and we have not written any limericks. So we need to get on the limerick thing.
I will get on that anon. Yes,
all right.
I will write. I'll start writing limericks for our September new patrons.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of new October ones too. So thank you for that. Maybe I'll write you a little.
Yeah, limericks all around. I'm gonna write some limericks tomorrow.
Yeah. So just thank you to everybody. I mean, Skylar and I are the ones that said we'd do it. So I guess
it's true. Yeah. We
I
wrote
also
the check.
don't know. I just don't know how to do that. So that's in the infamous words of Shannon. That's not in my wheelhouse.
It's AABBA. I think that's it.
Yeah, that made less sense to me than the word limerick. So
whatever. We'll write the limericks.
Oh, God.
But I mean, I guess that's everything. I am on Twitter at Kempa, YOUKNOWKEMPA. You can find me at Guillotine for You. That's Guillotine, the number 4, YOU.
I am Shan N.D. Stevens.
And I am Flojaune, FLOJAUNE.
That's us. Well, guys.
Happy 100.
Episode 100's
Pew,
down.
pew, pew, pew.
All right, let's get started on the next 100 here.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Happy 100th episode.
All right. Well,
goddamn pleasure.
Guys, I love you. Listeners, I love you too. As usual, we want you to stay safe.
Stay sane.
Stay healthy.
And for the 100th goddamn time, stay away from me.
All right. There it is. We'll see you, a couple days.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.